Dann würde ich sagen, fangen wir an in 3, 2, 1, los geht's! Moin moin und hallo, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Folge Podcast ist echt nicht einfach. Heute, wie jedes Mal, ein fantastischer Gast, der allerdings kein Deutsch spricht, sondern Englisch spricht, weil er ein Engländer ist. Er kommt aus Cornwall, da ist er aber gerade nicht. Er ist in Italien ausgewandert, bereits vor mehreren Jahren, 1996, dann in Italien angekommen. Er stellt uns ein ganz tolles Projekt vor. Er hat nämlich ein Buch geschrieben, The Pearls of Juggling. Und es ist ein artistisches Buch, es ist ein Buch mit gemalten Bildern drin, also keiner Fotografie, und mit ganz viel Philosophie von verschiedenen Jongleuren und zum Thema Jonglage. Dieses Buch gibt es bereits auf Amazon und gibt es auch bereits im Handel zu kaufen, allerdings bis jetzt, glaube ich, nur auf Englisch. Und gerade läuft ein Crowdfunding-Projekt, wo man Geld spenden kann, damit es auch eine Möglichkeit gibt, dieses Buch auf Deutsch zu übersetzen. Ich bin richtig froh, dass Anthony Trahair heute bei mir in der Sendung ist, und aus genau den Gründen, die ich euch gerade genannt habe, beginnen wir gleich diesen Podcast auf Englisch. Für alle, die es noch nicht wissen, ihr könnt diesen Podcast nicht nur auf YouTube sehen, sondern auch bei Spotify oder auf iTunes hören. Und anders alle, die uns zuhören, ihr könnt uns auch sehen, denn in diesem Podcast werden wir auch versuchen, ein paar Bilder aus dem Buch Pearls of Juggling hier euch zeigen zu können. So, das war's mit Deutsch. Ab jetzt, we start to talk English. I welcome you. Hello, Anthony. Nice to see you. Good.
Hello, Daan. Yeah, it's really good to see you. Good, great.
Great that you are part in the show, and great that we met between this troubling time from a friend of mine who was in a chat with you, or like an internet digital exchange, Peter, and he heard about your project, and then he said, well, there's a guy, he makes the podcast in this juggling scene and the internet in German, so maybe we can connect, and that's how we both met. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the project, or first about the book The Pearls of Juggling.
Yeah, sure, that would be great. This is the book Pearls of Juggling.
Yeah.
And basically I started to write this book 10 years ago. I've been juggling now for about 25 years, and in these 25 years I've also had a very deep yoga practice, and I've always been searching for the art in juggling, the expression, and just, you know, I came across numerous obstacles in my path to try and make juggling an art, you know. And 20 years ago, there weren't so many circus schools. There wasn't internet already, you know, and had to do like all sorts of different lessons, and to try and understand how to make juggling more interesting and more expressive. And this then took me to go to the Dimitri School in Switzerland in 2003, and then after this, in all this whole times, I've been teaching, inspired by the Zen of juggling. I've been teaching retreats for jugglers where we start early in the morning until late at night. Lots of body work, lots of creativity, new ways of training, and all this work that I've been doing in these years started to form its own special value. So I started to write some texts, and then I took 4 years to write this book, and another year to clean it up with all the ideas, you know, and the book follows the line is, we use our bodies for juggling, but it doesn't have to be just mechanics. No, it can be how I want to move. You know, so juggling becomes more of a dance, if you like, but it also becomes more efficient, because when I juggle with my whole body and I'm connected to my center, then I know exactly where my hand is, and I know exactly how to get there, and I'm much more efficient. You know, I'm not using all these muscles up here, and yeah, I start to become more like an animal. So this is So the book actually doesn't have any tricks at all. We don't really talk about tricks, but it goes on the principles behind the tricks. So it's so yeah, we talk about the creative process, and how schooling basically has drummed out the creative process of us, no? Because in schools, the important thing is that well, in schools we learn that there's only one answer to any question. So when we have this, then we have like blinkers on, no? And there's this example I use in the book that they used Sir Ken Robinson, about a paperclip. You know, if we ask small children how many uses are for a paperclip, they come up with hundreds, you know? And like the really divergent thinking ones, they start to say, well, what if it was made of another material, or it was as big as a house, you know? And then we get to the other extreme after our schooling, and it's like, yeah, it's for putting paper together.
Yeah.
And that's it, you know? And that kills our creativity, you know? And it's quite... But anyway, my take on it is we can get our creativity back when we realise that this is what's going on in our minds, that we always just looking for one solution. Our brains can't handle multiple truths, you know, at the same time, and they can coexist. You know, you can be right and I can be right at the same time.
Yes.
You know, and so this is diverging a bit, but the whole book is full of this sort of, in some way, Taoist. Not just Taoist, but this paradox, these two extremes, and finding ourselves in the middle there somehow, and there's a lot more to it. And it's also very practical, you know. It's like my idea was not to like make up some wishy-washy book, but like take jugglers, and it's not just for jugglers actually, to take people through the creative art process, because nobody teaches us how to really put art into things, you know. It's getting rarer and rarer, this element of things, and it's left up to ourselves almost, you know. So what happens is the greatest artists are often in some ways that they've found ways of escaping somehow from their reality, and then they dive into the art. But it can be a completely conscious process, this of teaching art, you know, and it's difficult because you have to create the atmosphere and get us like out of this mindset, you know. It's not the doing art, you know. It's really bringing your whole personality into it. So this is also this is where I find that juggling then becomes more satisfying when we bring ourselves fully into it, you know, and we combine the juggler to the juggled through the act of juggling. You know, these things, they combine then, and so as a self-taught juggler, I wrote the book for self-taught jugglers as well, you know, because there are so many things that we can put into practice in our practice, you know. If you know, we're keyed up into it, like in the training chapter, one of the first things is feeling the weight of your feet on the ground, you know, because when we juggle we all go up in the air, but if we are grounded, we have this going downwards, then something else happens, and so a self-taught juggler, he goes, cool, and he tries it out and sees it works. He's more stable, and then he's hungry to know more.
Yeah, also to take the energy out of the ground. If you're good grounded, you can take the energy you need to lift up something out of the ground and not out of your muscles. So it's really comes through the whole body, and you're not just only, as you told, like limited on the mechanics of your wrist or of your arm or of your shoulder. And then you said something interesting, which I can agree with. As you said, it's becoming more like a dance, juggling. And for me, juggling was always like a good reason for me to move on stage. So in the beginning, you are shy, and dancing was not like the thing I would love to do in front of people, because I would be scared of their reaction, because I not think about me as a dancer. I'm not. I never learned dancing, but I like to move, and I like to move my body on, maybe on music, maybe on mood, maybe on whatever is in my mind. And juggling was like a reason to be there and moving. And if you can transfer the moving from the balls or from your objects to your body and find other spaces around your body and in that sphere, it becomes more and more easy, like, to dance with these objects.
Sure.
For me it was the thing, like. And even today you see a lot of jugglers who are like only using like this space, so only the pattern space where they can like juggle their tricks or their strict patterns, and they just think that the audience is not watching them as a person. They're only watching like the patterns and the moving of the balls and how beautiful maybe also the patterns can be and are. But still, I see the juggler, he's still there. And for humans, it's interesting to see other humans. That's what we used to. We trained this for years to see other people and watch bodies, and that's is for me a really interesting part in watching juggling also. Like the movement of the body with the objects or without the objects, or with the objects only holding in their hands, but giving them a dynamic. And like in dance, one movement leads to the next one. I come from here, but I go down there, the ball comes up here, this gives me a reason to turn around, I can take this energy and break them and going into a freeze, but I can also take the energy into another movement where it leads me. So I really appreciate that you say also like that the juggling is more than only the method, the tricks and the patterns.
Oh, certainly. And you know, all this you're saying now, and being on stage, this is all quite worrying for a lot of people. You know, they don't know, and lots of jugglers, they found a lot of joy in juggling because, I mean, like myself, you know, it's like one of the first things that that gives me, that empowers me and allows me to think that I can do it. You know,
yeah.
And lots of shy people, you know, people that are very introverted, they find a lot of benefits in juggling.
Yes.
And then they want to take it further, you know, perhaps. So this is one thing I was very mindful about in this book, to again make it step by step and very clear the process to go about, because it can be daunting, you know. It's scary, you know, when we start talking about our own expression and being seen, especially when it's not in many of our cultures, it's not good to be seen, you know, it's not good to be a show off, and these things, they don't sort of quite fit together, you know. We need to not steal other people's attentions, but be there for them, you know.
Yes.
And be excited about what you've worked on, and
really interesting. What you now say with the excitement, it reminds me on a article I read about people who are professional in sports, and how they never say I have fear for this tournament or I have fear for this this race. They always say I am excited to be in this race, to go onto the field. Even the professional football players, they say like, I'm excited for the next match. We are playing against the team which is on top of the league, and this gives me excitement. They never say like, oh, I'm scared of. And I think this is a really interesting word, how to pronounce, like, no, be excited to be there. Don't be scared to be on stage, but be excited to be there.
Yes.
In this moment with the audience, with the people who are there, because this is the only thing which makes art, live performance art, what it is that it is capturing the moment. It's not about yesterday, it's not about tomorrow, it's not about in 2 hours, but it's about being now and here.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. And see, anyway, since this book came out 5 years ago, in the conventions and things, I often meet lots of people that have read it, you know, and people they're full of like notes and things sticking out the books,
Wow.
you know, and it's for me, it's like, wow, you know, people really, I mean, it can be really used as an incredible study guide, you know, and Yeah.
Did you?
So I'm blown away.
Did you wrote all?
Yeah.
Did you wrote all the quotes? You wrote the book completely by yourself, or are there also like quotes from other jugglers or like from the history of juggling?
There are some other quotes. Most of it is written by me, but there's a quote by Stefan Singh.
Ah, yeah.
There's also there's quotes from Steve Rawlings and from oh, I can't remember his name right now. That's rather embarrassing. And for the comedy juggling, there's some things from other people, and I would like to find it now actually, but
you need to have some.
Find it right now.
You need to have some small notes coming out.
yeah. Oh, here we go. It's Oh, here we go. Juggling and comedy. In juggling and comedy, you know, it's a special kind of acting. Juggling and comedy, you know, it's and with acting as well, it's this thing which is really hard to understand how to do as a juggler. And most circus people, oh yes, that's it. Henry Camus from Full House, and I think he works a lot in Germany as well, you know.
Yeah.
And he's really powerful on stage, and then that, you know, there are also like some I take some quotes also from different artists, you know. So in the beginning of the training chapter, there's a quote from Martha Graham as well, who uses this aspect that dance and life is a practice, you know. So it means it's never actually getting anywhere, you know. It's always making things better, and it's not even just making things better, it's enjoying the process all the time. So this is juggling, you know. It's never ending, and there's this fact that well, it's a difficult one, you know, because it's quite often, let's say semi-professional people or people that want to perform, they want to put all their new tricks into a routine because they're the things they're most excited about, no? And the other things, they're boring now because you know them already. So even here, the invitation is to take the things you already know and find what's interesting about them, and then we don't feel like they're boring and we're excited about them, and we're less likely to drop, you know. But it's difficult because we judge ourselves by the tricks we can not quite do yet, and this creates a lot of stress as jugglers.
Yes, exactly.
But, I mean, we can have like a couple of things that we're working on that are hard, you know, like why not? Or just work on them so hard until you get them. But the stage, you know, unless we're really relaxed on stage, there's all sorts of problems with the stress, the adrenaline, the lights, sweaty hands.
Yeah, everything. Yeah,
you name it.
It's not easy as a juggler to be performing on stage. The most time I use on stage before the show as a juggler, if I'm not hosting or if I'm hosting and juggling, is like to talk with the light guy. How many percent he please give me the front lamp in my face while juggling, and then we like just like thinking out like this is just the amount I need. And then which helps a lot is if you have like a good light technician to have like light from the sides and from behind for your own props.
Yeah. Because
if you don't do that, you only see like the shadow of your prop in that moment as it enters the light source. Like you only see like a white ball just like appears black for you in that moment. So if you have like light on the other side. But yeah, as you say, there are a lot of problems you can create or can find on stage. The more you relax you are on your technique, the more freedom you have like to be there and to play and to smile or to act.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's like a little bit like if I like comparing juggling to playing a music instrument. So if you like playing guitar, your name is your name is Paul McCartney, and you played like Penny Lane for now 20 years. So you don't think about the accords anymore. You enjoy the process of being live, performing, your song in front of people who are singing along in the best way. But he's not thinking about his technique, and he's not thinking about, oh, I play Penny Lane now for 20 years, maybe I should do some complicated picking inside so the people can see I can do also complicated picking, because that was not, you know, it don't lead to anything. The excitement and the happiness of this comes from I'm just doing it, but I can watch you while I'm doing it. I can do something different. I can play, I can joke, I can fool around. And the same with juggling. If you, in the beginning, you are really like thinking a lot about patterns and what I'm doing, and okay, now I'm coming from this trick, going into this trick, maybe returning to the cascade, to coming back to the next trick. And the more practice you have in variations, the more you can improvise. I always compare it to jazz, you know. So at one moment, if I know all the possibilities for me to throw and catch in every my direction, in every movement, maybe also around my body, backside my body or whatever, then I can improvise, and then it starts to getting free. Then I'm feeling free in what I'm doing. So I don't have to think about like don't be scared of dropping, and neither just have to like always think about what comes next, but you can adapt to what comes next. And I think that's like the most that's a really nice moment if you have this one found, you know, in juggling.
Absolutely.
To be just like to be free without thinking with your head too much. It's the same like if you're acting on stage and you need to learn like a text, and if you're on stage and you just like think about, oh shit, I need to remember the text, you are not present, you will not perform well. If you know your text, your mind can be there in the moment, and you can enjoy the moment and fill the character with life without thinking about, okay, which word comes next, which sentence comes next, when does I have to stop, and stuff like that.
No, absolutely. And there's this thing about acting that, going back on what I was starting to say earlier, that as jugglers and circus people, we're very vague with our choices. And I use this example as a postman. You know, like if I decide I want to do a routine where I'm a postman and I have letters, it's not enough that I'm just a postman. You know, I have to really go into detail and think about who this postman is. Where does he come from? What does he like to do?
Where does he want to go?
Yeah, and this is where all these thoughts here is then where what do I have to say comes into play.
Yes.
Like I can say these things through how this character does his things, you know.
Yeah, and also to have a relationship from the character to his objects. Like
exactly.
This is the postman. Like, is he happy about the letters? Does he like them? Does he smell them sometimes because he wants to know what's inside? So there's so much to tell in like going into the research on the object and on the personality who's researching this object. So it comes twice. It's like sometimes when I work on projects like that, where it's like I say that now it's not a juggling scene, it's like more like a choreography, but the technique comes out of juggling. Like it's manipulation of objects, or like building machines, stuff like that. That first you make like a research on the object, like maybe your letters. Then you create, as you create your character, you go into the character in the research. So how would this character do the research with these objects? It's different from how Daan, as an artist with my background,
absolutely,
work on.
It's a huge difference,
and that's a huge difference, which tells so much small side stories and makes your character interesting. We come
so we go back to say to the people again that it's step by step we get this, you know. We can feel very overwhelmed and like not good enough, but we really have to start thinking about these things in a certain way, and then we get there, you know. It's like step by step. Step by step.
In fact, it's like learning three-ball cascade. In the beginning, you think, I will never do this. I can't handle this. Then you're making progress and you see, maybe I can achieve it. And then you have your first 4 catches, and then you have your 8 catches, and then it's going on and on and on. And after some time, you say like, oh, well, juggling with 3 objects, cascade, it's not that hard. And so you go on from this point on. And the same is, I think, with character development or like creating a stage show. Maybe your first one won't be the best. My first host on a stage was worse. It was not good. I did a lot of bad shows as well. But if you're always like thinking about doing the next one a little bit better, or like approaching step by step by step, one day maybe you are satisfied with it. As it's always hard for artists to be satisfied with their creations. I think it's never ending. Just like always like in the same critics also like, yeah. Let's return a little bit to the book, because you want now that the book gets accessible for non-English speakers, maybe German readers and German speakers. So the idea is to have a translation from your book into German. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. When we originally made the book, it was actually financed with a crowdfunding 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And like nearly 200 people supported the project.
Wow.
And yeah, very encouraging, very nerve-wracking moment. and so lots of people have asked me about making other language editions in these years.
It exists in English and it exists in
English, in Italian.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And Chris Blessing from Germany, he wrote to me. I knew he was translating it. We talked about it, and hadn't really quite like grasped the thing, you know. And then one day he says, "I finished translating it," you know, in this lockdown period. And I'm like, "Oh my God!" Okay, then we have to go for it. We have to go for it and make a crowdfund. Which is more, actually, it's more like pre-sales, if you like, you know. It's the same thing, but we need to have we need to have a minimum of 120 pre-sales to make the project viable, you know.
All right, so
to print the copies.
If I'm crowdfunding your project, I buy in the same moment I buy the book. Is it how it works?
Yeah, that's it. You are part of the project.
Yeah.
Because it's really, you know, now we're at 40%.
40%.
Which is almost 50, which is like 50 copies.
Yes.
And if we don't get any more, then people get their money back, and it won't happen.
Okay.
See?
Wow.
So it's all or nothing, you know.
Yes.
I mean, for me, this is real crowdfunding, all or nothing.
Yes.
I don't want to say it's not real, but there are some cases where you don't need all the money. But in this case, it's we can't do it. We can't do the project with only 50 copies. You know, it doesn't cover the costs for that.
Exactly. If the more copies you like, the more copies you do, the cheaper it gets per copy.
Oh, of course, for the printing.
For the printing as well, it makes more sense.
And then there's also other costs. There's shipping.
Yes.
Well, the shipping is actually included. There's the graphic. Also the Chris, he's got
for sure.
His work will be. So it's actually not a huge total for the crowdfunding, but yeah, I just really hope, fingers crossed, that it works out. You know, it would be disappointing if it doesn't work. You know.
Yes, I will put.
We've got a month.
I will put the link for the crowdfunding down here on this video on YouTube, so the people can click on it. But maybe for the podcasters who are hearing this, can you just say where they find it?
Okay, it's ulule.com, which I don't ulule.com, and it's Pearls in German. I mean, that's not the whole exact link, but Pearls of Juggling in German, Pearls in German.
So Perlen. Perlen der Jonglage. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's it.
You found it.
Because that's it, you know, they're all little nuggets, little tiny things to think about and to incorporate into your training. And there's also this idea, you know, it's like what we do in our training sessions we bring into our lives, and what we do in our lives we bring into our training sessions. So there are moments, and we feel this as jugglers, that we're really going in these positive creative cycles. You know, we're not in a vicious circle, we're in a virtuous circle, and these are really great spaces to be in. You know, and juggling is very special because we have to let go to then grab again. You know, there's this really element of trust almost in our ability to be able to catch afterwards. You know, and there's this thing with the arms, and it creates a lot of brain activity, which is which is really good for us. Yeah,
it's really good.
So even if the people are listening to this podcast that aren't jugglers, you know, my invitation is always try it out. You know, there's so many tutorials about how to learn to juggle now. You know, just go for it and watch your thoughts as you're doing it. You know, really watch this negative mindset which says, no, you can't do this, you're not good enough, and like have a good laugh of it, you know, and tell it to go away. Say like, I'm going to show you, you know, and then this is we regain so much more of our life busting through this negative mindset. So it's of course I'm going to be an advocate for juggling, you know, but I think for myself it was a special moment when I learned to juggle. I hadn't expected at all, you know. It was really this, what people call nowadays an epiphany moment, you know. It was really like, I can do anything then.
Yes.
You know, it was really this thought, you know, of like, anything I put my mind to.
I gained a lot of self-confidence throughout juggling. As I was a kid, I was a lot of enjoying sports. But I had this problem with there's always like a winner and a loser. There must be a referee, and if the referee's not watching, maybe you kick the little boy in the knee, so he's running not that fast. So I didn't like this competition. It made me really feeling pressure. Always when it was like competitioning, I just want to enjoy soccer, like playing soccer with my friends. That's it. And then there comes this competition, and I was always like, it gave me bad feeling, bad mood, and I just don't enjoy it. I did it with soccer, I did it with basketball, I did it with ping pong. So I went to a lot of sports, and I started climbing. And climbing for the first time in my life, I had the same experience like you can like climb a route, and then if you fall down, it's not the fault of the wall, and it's even not your fault. Just like try again or leave it. You're on your own, you know, like just do it or leave it. And then this led me then to juggling, because juggling you can do like perform everywhere. You can do it in a park. You don't need like a wall to climb, all the outfits, the rope, maybe a guy who secures you. And then I came to juggling, and juggling was exactly that for me. I learned like if I try something long enough, I can achieve it. There is only me and gravity. So I can't blame anyone for it when it's not working. I can't say like it was the referee or it was the other one. So it's always on me, and it's also on me like to stand up again and try again, or just to leave it. So if I'm frustrated, then I have to make my decision how I deal with it. How I deal with also have like frustration moments, and to drop and to go on your knees and pick up again and do it again and do it again. So I really share your experience with it, and it showed me exactly as a metaphor for life. As you say, I can do nearly anything now, because there's such a way how you can also like how you learn juggling. You can refer to so many other different things also in learning in life. Yeah,
you learn to learn. You learn how to learn.
Yeah, exactly. You learn how to learn. That's a really good point. There are there are the more and more schools also where the children learn now juggling as like part of their education program.
Sure. And you know, the idea also behind the German edition of this book is also for these kids, you know, because if you're really inspired, you do incredible things, you know. You're not so reliant just on what your teacher is telling you, you know.
Yes.
Unless you've got a really inspired teacher. Some people do have, you know.
Yeah.
Some people do have inspired teachers, of course. And so anyway, all of this, what we're talking about now, is the reason why in the last few years I've been going more into this aspect of playfulness, you know, because it's really this. What you were saying, it's the difference between game and play, let's say, you know. In a game-based thing, we have all the rules, and you can enjoy it or not. In play-based, we can decide together to change the rules if they're not fun.
Exactly.
So this and this change in shift, that if something's not fun, we can actually change what we want to do, is incredible. We can do this with anything, you know, because we hold so many things like, oh, it has to be like this because everybody else does it like this. Well, if it's not fun, do it different, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, bring more life into it. So so this is what I've been doing in the last few years, listening to people about playfulness, reading lots of books, going to playfulness festivals. Last year I even organised my own playfulness festival here in Italy, and this year,
tell us about
the
festival this year. You will like to make an online festival, that's right?
Yeah, that's right. After thinking about it for a lot, one morning I woke up and said, hey, you know, this is all about raising the quality of our lives through play. And it was like, whoa, you know, it's like we really need we need to raise the quality of our lives. You know, it's really very obvious. I think in this period of lockdown, I don't know, because I'm just guessing, but I can imagine even for a second in time, people realise that you can't eat money, you know. It's not the end.
Or toilet paper.
All, you know. Yeah, I didn't have this problem, but I heard it went very scarce, toilet paper.
I didn't.
But yeah, there's this thing, you know, it's like, and we need to collaborate, you know, and playfulness is a collaborative force.
Yes.
Because I'm not interested in being right. I'm not interested in winning. I'm interested that this thing which happens between me and you carries on. And that's it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's about taking, looking at people from their point of view, you know, asking yourself, what does it feel like to be you, you know? And this is very pertinent right now, you know, with this whole racism, you know.
Yes.
It's like we're not asking other people what they feel like, you know.
Yes.
We just presume, even in our same households, you know, we presume the other people think like we do, they feel like we do, and we don't enter into their spheres at all, you know. So yes, it's a question of race, but it's not. It's like just interpersonal, because we just don't connect with other people, you know. We're not. So yeah, without going like too like off on one, you know, playfulness is important. You know, we really, and it's not something that goes at the end of a long day's work, you know. This is the other thing, you know, it's separating work and play. It can be infused into what we're doing, you know. Yes. And it has to be infused into what we're doing, you know. Yes. And but Dan, the funny thing about playfulness is that, like, for lots of people, especially playing in public places, it feels like we're doing something illegal, like something that's not forbidden, not allowed, you know. Playing, it's such a incredible thing about adults playing, you know. It's just, you just don't do it, you know. And it's like,
you miss so much. You miss so much in that time when you're not playing, or you stop playing because you think also it's not the same what you said, because not everybody is doing it. Maybe there is no society's acceptance for that, so I'd rather don't play and like goofing around on some things like climbing on trees, you know, like so simple things you would just like do as a child. You see the tree, wow, that's a climbing tree, I go up there, and I think like, could go up there, but what are the people thinking if they just see me doing this? And so we are a lot of thinking how we fit into this society's rules and norms, without questioning allowed to change them now. To say like, why are these our rules and our norms? If it's not fun, let's change them. That was like,
yeah, and we don't have to be like weird or make other people feel uncomfortable, you know. I mean, if we're generally happy and generally playful, we get other people excited with us, you know. And we don't have to be like the odd one out, you know. Oh, look at that weirdo, what he's doing, you know. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it. You know, there's this famous video on YouTube. There's like some field. You know, some guy starts dancing, and then before long, someone else comes, and then before long, like the whole of this hilltop is people just dancing. You know, it's like really, each one of us has this power to really.
Yes, to move.
Playfulness has a lot of resistance behind it to play, but it's contagious, and this is so this is the beauty of it. You know, it's so it's not the activity, it's the attitude. You know, it's this curiousness, seeing things. You know, we don't see things, we label things. You know, tree, house, window, bottles. We don't see the things and this is a really weird, quirky thing of the brain, you know, this look at things, you know, look at it. What's it made of? What does it feel like? What does it smell of? And then this already takes us right out of this.
Yeah, we only judge the stuff. We judge the stuff without seeing it. We're just like, we're permanently like on judging stuff, like useful, not useful.
Comparing. Yeah, judging, comparing.
Yeah, exactly.
No, certainly.
How will your Playful Festival? When does it will happen?
When is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the 12th to the 14th of June.
12th to 14th of June.
And there are more than 30 playful specialists,
Nice.
playful people that have talks. There are panel sessions. There are lots of play sessions. You know, there's all sorts of really fun, not about playing games like computer games, but there's all sorts of ways of playing. Like most of these things would be done normally in a room.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
together.
It's like
so they've been adapted for the
internet.
For the internet. So but we've seen that they can be very powerful experiences. You know, and. We've also put like a forum into the website to try and make it more levels, you know, so to talk about this topic, you know. And there are people that talk about playfulness in education, you know, like it's a way, you know, it's a way of teaching. It doesn't mean you have to be playing all day long, but just thinking of different ways, you know, how to get this stuff across. You know, that you can teach history. In a role-playing way, you know, get half the class to be, I don't know,
you are the general or like whatever. Exactly, or like you are the royalty of that time, or imagine you are like a normal farmer in this time, and how is his that's a great idea.
Yeah. And also maths, you know, maths can be very playful,
could be funny.
Yeah, it can be, you know, but it has to be. It's at the same time, you know, it's like can seem overwhelming, all this stuff, because it's like, oh, I don't know how to do this stuff. So this is the responsibility now, to try and help people to realise that it doesn't take so much, you know. It's just taking a little step into the unknown slightly, and this is what it is. So then there's all these other topics, you know, like playful cities. Creating cities that feel good to live in, you know, and that aren't like scary black areas, you know, like dark where there's, you know, not you know, there are anonymous places in cities where they don't feel good, you know.
Yeah, we build a lot of time. We build like cities for cars and not for people.
Oh, absolutely.
That's was a big mistake, I think.
Absolutely, and well, the list goes on, because it's basically it can touch everything, you know. It touches every. Super
interesting, and I recommend everybody just like to take a look, to make his own impression of it. From the 12th to the 14th June, it will happen online, and where
Giocosamente Festival. Giocosamente means playfully in Italian.
Yes, Giocosamente Festival.
Giocosamente Festival.eu.
Also, this I will write you down in the comments section down below this video, so you can read it and then just click on it, and you will be prompted to the Playful Festival of Anthony. Perfect.
And if people listen to this podcast later on, you know, we'll have other.
It will still be
we have other
something
stuff
on.
going on.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a project which is going to continue now.
And how many days now the crowdfunding for the Pearls of Juggling in German still is going on?
It ends on the 5th of July.
On the
so
5th of July.
Just a bit over a month.
Exactly.
Just over a month. So
hurry up. We hurry up.
yeah. Yeah, and also, you know, it's like there's also the possibility of sponsoring inside the book. In this book here, where is it gone? Right at the beginning. In this book here, we have Play Juggling.
Yeah,
you know,
from
they
Italian.
sponsored this.
Davide.
So, yeah. So, part of the crowdfunding could also be you sponsor it, and you get 25 copies of the book, which you can get the money back from your sponsoring endeavor.
Exactly. Yeah, nice.
So
great idea.
So for three sponsors, and then the job is done. The book is published.
Perfect.
And people, you know, it's a tiny little logo inside the book. The people, they all know that Play helped with this book. You know, it's a nice place to have your hidden logo.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. It's a great idea, and it's like something more worth for everybody who wants to give like and supporting the project. Anthony, our time is over already. So thank you very much for having you as a guest here in the podcast. Thank you very much for all your explanations, and thanks for the energy you give on to everything which has to do something with playfulness. Thank you for writing the book. I can tell you now I will support it because I want a copy. So the next thing I will do, I go to ulele.com and then I find Perlen der Jonglage, Pearls of Juggling, and then you can crowdfund it, give some money there so that the book will come out in German. So thank you very much, all the best, and hope to see you soon in real life, maybe in Italy. It would be perfect.
Okay, thanks Dan, thank you.
You're always welcome. Das soll es also schon gewesen sein von unserem Podcast Ist echt, nicht einfach. #Pine auf Twitter. Dort könnt ihr gerne eure Meinung dazu schreiben, vielleicht auch gerne Fragen stellen, unabhängig ob das an mich geht oder an einen meiner Gäste. Ich werde das so gut wie möglich dann auch weiterleiten. An dieser Stelle nochmal gesagt, nicht nur die Pearls of Juggling könnt ihr unterstützen, sondern auch diesen Podcast bzw. die Tutorials, die ich mache, unter www.patreon.com/DaanMackel. Dann alle weiteren Infos findet ihr wie immer unter diesem Video fein säuberlich sortiert, sodass ihr alle Infos von Anthony und seinem Projekt auch dann euch reinschauen könnt, durchklicken könnt und eure eigene Meinung dazu machen könnt. Mit diesem fantastischen Schlusswort, dass es nichts Schöneres gibt als Spielen. I said there's nothing better than playing. So we wish all our audience a playful day. And
yes.
See you next time. Bye bye.